Hey, good morning. Can you guys hear me? Hello? Hey there, can you hear me?
Morning, Bob.
Good morning, Can you hear me okay?
A little bit soft.
A little soft? Okay, let me see if I can turn up the volume a little bit. I forgot my regular headpiece, so I'm going with the earpiece. Let me see.
Oh, I just turned up my volume, so if that improved it.
All right, perfect. Good deal. I don't know if that, everybody, does that help at all? Anybody?
I'm good now.
All right, you're good. Everybody else, thumbs up. Can you hear me okay? All right, I see Bob. Anna, you got me okay? She is thinking about it. Megan, good deal. All right, perfect. Well, it's 10:01, so let's get started. I want to, good. This one we might be a little bit different. I'm going to cover some stuff, knock through this. By the way, just up front, there's a guy coming here to the office. I'm in the Dr. Phillips office in Orlando, and he needs to check out something. So if I have to step away for 2 minutes, that'll be why. All right, so just up front. But let me pull our PowerPoint up for today and go through. What my thought is this: I'm going to go through some things today and discuss, but then I also want to make sure that we have time available so I can kind of just get a feel for what's going on with you guys. If you have any specific questions, whether it be specific to what we're doing here, and you know what we're trying to achieve through 100K, or the actual implementation of 100K and how that is going. If there's any roadblocks and any of that stuff. So we'll kind of start from there. Fair enough?
Yep.
All right, perfect. Okay. So let's just dig right into it. I want to start with our new business development series, right? As far as what our goals are to try and get in front of as many people as we can and be rolling. So remember, we got this, right? We're not going to overcomplicate. We talked about traffic generating events. While I'm here, remember, we're talking about corn planting now, right? We got our two different facets. We've got corn planting and orange groves, and we're going to spend some more time on orange groves as well today. But on the corn planting side, remember that the whole design behind that is to generate business with people who do not know you today and you don't know them, right? If you are going to grow your business, you're going to have to either get better at working your orange groves or get better at planting corn. My suggestion would be is that we do both, right? That we get to the point where I always have new sources of business coming in, right? And it's funny because I've got agents that have been through our 100K and introduced to these concepts for years now, and their business is going well. But if they ever have a slow time, they'll reach out to me and they'll just send me a quick text or an email saying, "Hey, Bob, I broke out the bank-owned open house signs again. My pipeline got a little dry," and they kind of leave it as a fallback, if you will, a plan B, because all things considered, right? I mean, and I think we all would admit this, right? But all things considered, would we prefer to have people just call us and say, "Hey, haven't talked to you in a while. By the way, my niece is moving to town and she needs some help buying a home." That's better, right? Okay, it's more comfortable. You're sitting in your air-conditioned home with your ceiling fan on, sipping an iced tea, and business walks in your door, right? I get that totally. And if our goal would be to get there, right? That 100% of our business is coming from that, right? But in the short term, while we're waiting for that to be the case, what are we going to do, right? If we're going to grow and expand our business, we need to go then out and reach out and plant some corn, right? And that's been the whole premise. And it could be something where, hey, look, all of a sudden, I don't know why everybody's nieces stopped moving to town, and I'm a little dry right now, right? And if I'm a little dry, then I need to make sure somehow I can drink, right? So I got to get the pipeline filled again. So I'm going to then fall back and reinstigate the corn planting series. And the nice thing about that is when you instigate corn planting, literally you could say, hey, you know what? I haven't done this in a while. I'm going to do it. Literally 6 to 8 weeks from now, you can have closings. I have no doubt about it. I believe that with my whole heart, right? And then you could always turn on the spigot when you need to.
Do you want your picture in here?
And able to do it. So, are you with me on that? Let's see who else we have here. Let's see. We got Jen. I muted some of you because it was a little loud. So just in case you're wondering, I kind of took you off. So if you're moving things around and if I can tell who the culprit is, I'll mute you. And if you need to speak, make sure you unmute. So anyway, that being said, I've got agents that will just all of a sudden say, hey, you know what? My pipeline got a little dry, and so I decided I had to go plant some corn. Now, ideally, we'd be eating oranges only, right? And that's where we want to get. We want to get to the point where we have just a bunch of orange groves. Now, here's the cool thing is, and I've referenced it, and I think in a couple, maybe one of the first intro sessions or not, but if you haven't heard me say it before, the corn we plant is a very unique kind of corn, right? Because that corn, not only can we harvest it and eat it 6 to 8 weeks from now, i.e. eat it in the form of a commission check cashed, right? But it also, however you want to look at it, puts off little spores that fall into the ground and potentially can be orange trees, right? Because if I take care, there's no better orange tree than a past satisfied client, right? So it's kind of unique in that our corn can become oranges, right? And that's ideal because not only do you have family and friends and people you know and so on and so forth, but now you've got a list and an ever-growing list of satisfied clients. And self-admitted, I'll tell you, you may or may not have heard me say this in the past, but this, everything I teach comes straight out of experience, right? When Sandra and I did that role play 2 weeks ago on an open house, I hope you can tell that I've done it before, right? That this is something that is, it became second nature to me having these discussions because I'd done it so much. And it's been a while, quite frankly, since I've sat an open house, but obviously it's in there still deep because I have no doubt that, if I ever had to open a spigot myself and go out and start creating new business, it's the first thing I would do is go sit some traffic generating events to meet clients, right? But self-admitted is part of that experience is I got a little arrogant, if you will, right? Imagine that, right? But I got a little arrogant in the aspect of, hey, you know what? I could create 100 transactions a year from thin air, right? I don't need past clients. I don't need no stinking past clients, right? It was stupid, right? It was very foolish of me not to, because they were satisfied, right? I mean, I treated people well and I did a great job. Why I didn't get better at parlaying that old business into other new business is, I think, just a matter of, hey, look, it's the way I've always done it. I felt like I could always just create new transactions from fresh people I was meeting off the street and didn't bother with staying in touch with my past clients. Again, I didn't have Michael Mayer's book. I would have done it differently today had I had to do it all over again. I would have the dual aspect of corn and orange groves idea, cemented deeply into my business model, right? And that's what I'm going to try and encourage you to do is continue to work on both simultaneously. Fair enough? Okay. So that being said, I'm just going to get all these points up here, right? And we know these are the same bullet points we've had on corn planting the whole time. Now that we're here, all right, we're only 10 minutes in. We've got a scheduled 10 minutes more to talk about corn planting. Let me hear from you, all right? And make sure you're not muted if you're trying to talk. What are your roadblocks to this? What are you experiencing out there in the real world? I don't want to pretend like things are happening that, I'm totally out of the loop and don't know what's going on. Anybody? None? Now remember, one of your we're going to go over our requirements. Remember, if you were at last session and read the last session, what we had to do was either have three deals under contract, right? Proven contracts, and I can share my screen. I can log into paperless pipeline for everybody else to see here. All right, so be careful if you claim you've got 3 contracts. All right, I might call you on the carpet and go into paperless pipeline, and you're going to start telling me, oh, it's really a contract. I haven't uploaded the paper. Then I'm going to yell at you for not getting the paperless pipeline timely, right? So now you're in a no-win situation. So you're supposed to have 3 contracts, or you were supposed to have a selfie of you at an open house, right? Some type of traffic generating event. How did that go? Tell me, where are you?
The selfie. Did you send the selfie?
Anybody?
Well, how long ago? I did have 3 closings in 3 weeks.
Nice.
A month ago.
Good.
And I have another closing tomorrow.
Nice. So you've got business happening. Congratulations.
I'm really happy. It's starting to move.
Yeah. See, you know what? Isn't it nice when you start to see the fruit of your labor, right? It's funny because you never know how long sometimes that's going to take. Right? Sometimes we plant seeds, long ago, and then they come to fruition. Yeah. Here's another thing, and you should remind me of this. I don't know if we talked about it in this session. One of our hashtags that we like is that activity breeds activity, right? I remember a story probably a couple of years ago where an agent that had been with us for many, many years had kind of been, he had another job and was kind of doing this very, on a part-time basis. Decided to do it, and he came to 100K, and the first session or 2 he kind of sat through and took it all in, and they just said, hey Bob, nothing's really happening for me. And I said, well, nothing's happening for you, but are you doing anything? There's no harvest. And I said, well, what have you planted? And they're like, there's no harvest. And I said, okay, let me ask you again, what have you planted? Well, there's no harvest, right? So and we can't expect that because we know we're not going to lie to the law of the harvest. However, all of a sudden, he started sitting some bank-owned open houses, and he came back within the next 3 weeks and didn't have business from corn per se, right? Was nobody that he had met at an open house, but all of a sudden, people that he had been friends with for a while all of a sudden reached out to him and said, hey, look, we need to buy, or we need to sell our home, or something happened, right? So he had like 2 listings and another sale already, in the works. And I'm a firm believer it's because he showed the world that he was willing to work, right? That before this, he was sitting around doing nothing, expecting a harvest, yet he planted over here in the cornfield and actually started reaping from orange trees that had been around a while. And I think it's possible that it's because there was just some activity happening, because activity breeds activity, right? That when the world knows that you're busy, all of a sudden, because maybe you put it out there, hey, it could be a simple post on Facebook, sitting a bank-owned open house today, and somebody that's on your thread sees that, and not interested in that, but oh yeah, I forgot Erm was in real estate. That's great. Let me reach out to her. I can just ran into somebody at the grocery store the other day. It was an old longtime friend that talked about that they were needing to sell their home. I need to put them together. That's the way that works. So kudos to you, Erm. That's huge, right? That's awesome. Anybody else? Sandra, do you have any more open houses after you and I did our little role play?
I did not have an open house in the last 2 weeks, but the weekend after our role play, I actually have a listing appointment, and I got the listing.
Nice. Did you have a little more confidence?
Yes, exactly. I walked in, boom, like, hey, I'm your girl.
There you go. Perfect. Love it. And that's that's an awesome attitude. And you know what? That I'm just telling you. That sells. We're so fearful of coming across as salesman-ish, woman-ish, right? That we don't want to. But the biggest mistake people make, in my opinion, is they never ask for the sale. They never say, hey, look, there's no one better than me to help you with your problem, right? And you truly believe that in your heart, because I don't care, quite frankly. all the stuff that we have to offer now, the list is endless of what's available for us to, through List Hub and now Home Snap and all these different things that we can do that can make, I don't care how long you've been in the business, you just do a couple YouTube sessions with, after you Google real estate training on how to market a listing, you're going to get some really good ideas out there, right? Back in my day, all that training was written on stone tablets. I couldn't just go to the computer and get it, right? I had to actually lug around stone tablets to try and find it. But now you guys got it easy. So I don't want to hear your complaints. Well, that's fantastic though, Sandra. That's all, you know, and confidence, once you have it, look out.
Yeah.
Right? That is something, you know, it is, you know, the world's going to open up for you.
I'm hoping this is the year. Every year I do that, but I'm thinking this year it is.
Well, and you know what? You've already proved it, that you got a listing that, you know, in the past maybe you wouldn't have had you not walked in with some confidence.
Yeah.
So I'm kind of scrolling through here. Anybody else got any feedback for me on whether they did open houses or they got deals, or are they just like that guy expecting the harvest without without doing the work?
We've done a couple open houses. Eileen, Rockin'.
Oh, hey guys, yeah, I can see you up there. Hey,
we did like couple this week. We're doing one today. Actually, we did one yesterday and got new home buyers. And the other thing is, we've been doing the flea market. So we really, it's amazing. People have been coming to us. It was such a difference. So I think we're really, you know, thanks to our team leader, Sherry.
Yeah, that's
wonderful.
Awesome.
Yep. So we're
that's fantastic. Now, so let's say the two buyers that you met yesterday, would they qualify for the 4 criteria that we call a buyer?
I would say yes, they have.
Okay,
they
awesome.
have. Yeah,
they're able to buy. Right. Just a reminder, anybody that's new on the session, we have 4 criteria for a buyer: able to buy, willing to buy, which kind of means that there's some motivation, or realistic is the other word we use for willing, right? Realistic, they're not just looking for that 70% of market value home, right? Okay.
No, that's right.
Able, willing, needs, it means some type of motivation.
They've been expanding their family, new baby.
Oh, perfect, good. That's the exact illustration.
The home front, right?
Right, and then 4th is, how about loyal to you? Have we established that yet?
Loyal to us.
Nice.
Yeah.
Good.
So it's perfect. I mean, it's a 4. We have all 4. So now we just have to find the perfect home for them and go.
Well, that's a piece of cake. That's, you know, once you got those 4, that's just a given. You know, you may as well start writing checks on those checks you're going to receive.
Well, let's see.
Come on, put your faith out there. Go out there. Go buy yourself a Mercedes today. I'm just teasing. The other part of Dave Ramsey says we're not going to do that, right? We're going to make sure we have enough money in our envelope to go pay cash for a Mercedes.
Yes, or investment.
There you go. Even better, buy investment property. That's right.
So
that's great.
We've had a great
real quick on that, Gene, and I don't know if you guys are listening to this, but today is what? Wednesday, right?
Yes.
You said you did an open house yesterday?
We did one yesterday.
Whoa. Stop there. Tuesday.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
I didn't know you were allowed to do open houses on Tuesday.
We can do them
We did one too.
I love it, Janice. Great job. I'm telling you guys, it's music to my ears, because you know what? How about let's differentiate ourselves from the rest of the world, right? The other real estate people out there. People are probably think it's odd, right? Or that's unique, right? That you're doing an open house on a midweek open house, and that's just a natural conversation starter, right?
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah, that's different from me and the rest of the real estate world, right? Is that I'm willing to work, right? So why wouldn't you join? Why wouldn't I be the one?
And it wasn't that crowded, but the people that came in, boom, they were serious.
It only takes one, right? Remember, we're only looking for one a day, right? In your case, if you're sharing them, we're looking for 2 a day. So you can both do.
And then tomorrow, well, there were 2 people yesterday, and then we're doing one today from 2 to 5. In fact, if you guys would like to come, we'd love to have you. It's at 670 54th Ave North.
Now, are they? Is this a regular open house or a bank owned, or what kind of?
It's a bank owned.
Now, where'd you find it? Let's dig through here a little bit. Where'd you find that bank owned open house?
We're sitting for the listing agent.
Okay,
Which
and the listing agent is not Future Home.
it is. It
It
is.
is. Okay, good, awesome. I didn't know who is that?
It's actually our team leader, Sherry's listing. She does.
Sherry has a bank-owned open house?
Yes.
Or bank-owned listing?
Yes.
Nice, good deal. That's perfect. Even better then. That's
Right.
that's fantastic. I didn't know she had some bank-owned connections. That's awesome, and that's ideal, right? So,
Right.
but has anybody? Okay, great job, guys. Has anybody
Oh,
reached out to?
Wait, Bob, excuse me. It's not bank owned. I beg your
Oh, it's
pardon.
not.
I'm sorry.
Okay.
It's a short sale. Sorry about
It's a
that.
short sale.
Okay,
Sorry.
almost.
Okay, cool. Very good. Good
Sorry
answer.
about that.
All right, that's good. Has anybody done a bank owned with somebody and reached out to an agent not in Future Home and got them to allow you to sit an open house?
I have in the
Who's
past.
that? Let me get my list. Who's that? Speak up.
Firm.
Arm, where are you? I'm gonna find you so I can see you. I like to see you when you're. I gotta scroll. There you are. I just scrolled through my list here.
Okay.
By the way, we got 12 or 15 people on today. That's great. Glad to see everybody.
Yeah.
So is it through Tyler? Does Tyler have any specific, or is
No.
this somebody else?
No, this is another broker that I've known for several years. She actually
Awesome.
moved out of state, but she's still doing bank-owned foreclosures here in the state. So
Nice.
yeah, so I hope.
And she said, and would she obviously go for it? Hey, I loved it. Yeah, have at it.
Yeah, anytime I
Yeah.
want, I can. I can sit her properties open. It gives her exposure. And
Does she have any more?
sorry.
How many does she have?
I haven't done any for her in a while. I haven't checked her
Okay.
inventory. I've been holding open not a bank foreclosure, but one of Tyler's listings.
Perfect.
That he's trying to get rid of.
Nice. Well, and here's the thing, guys, right? I put bank owned up there, but we're not tied to those, right? We're just tied to traffic. Like the other ladies, they were talking about, they're getting a ton of traffic at their at the flea market, right?
Right.
So this is a great time. Wherever you can generate traffic is critical, right? I mean, and I don't care if it's a regular open house, whatever. I used to joke around that I don't care if you hire a sign spinner, put somebody out there, right, to get them to get the traffic through. Put out one of those inflatable, things that do this to get draw attention, right? Whatever you have to do to get people walking in the door, because you can't win them over unless you get eyeball to eyeball, right? But the minute we do, then it's game on. Here we go. Fair enough.
Yes.
So that's great, and just continue to do it. By the way, I think I put out there. It should be. You can just search bank owned open house in the 100K group page, and you'll see that sample email that I mocked up, where you could send it to a bank owned, an REO agent, and just make it sound like you, of course. And then I always encourage you, send the email, follow up with a call and a text, because you never know how their preferred communication style is, and doing it. So fair enough.
Yes.
I can't encourage you. By the way, if you guys aren't motivated by the fact that Gene and Eileen have 2 new buyers that they didn't have yesterday, right, that meet all 4 criteria because they were willing to sit in an open house on a Tuesday afternoon, all right, if that doesn't motivate you, then I don't know what does, okay? I, quite frankly, don't want to hear it, okay?
It works.
Yeah, that's right. Well, and you know what?
It works.
Well, it works because you work, right? I mean,
But you have
that's
to
it.
put some effort in. You do have to put some effort in to get something out of it. Absolutely.
Well, I mean, yeah, I want to be in the top 1% of wage earners in the United States, but I don't want to work. I call that fantasy island, right? Okay, you guys, I can date myself about little Hervé, whatever that little tattoo, remember that little dude that was on Fantasy Island, right? Okay. Yeah, right.
Tattoo.
Yeah, Tattoo was a little guy, right? Yeah, he always had that old white suit on. But yeah, this is not Fantasy Island. We're not living in this fantasy world of 100 grand is going to show up on my doorstep, right? It's going to take some effort. But the beauty is, boy, I'm compared to other things you can do, and the low entry cost to doing this business compared to anything else that you could possibly do, right? I was thinking I was shaving today, and I was using a Harry's razor. I've seen the Harry's. He's one of these disruptors, right? That have entered because Gillette and Schick had owned the men's in particular and the whole razor blade market forever, right? Corporate, huge corporates. And these guys, first of all, a guy named Dollar Shave Club came in, and then Harry's came in, and they're called disruptors, right? But in order for them to disrupt a multi-billion-dollar industry, which, by the way, it's a multi-billion-dollar industry when you have to get someone to unlock the case to buy razor blades, right? Okay, you obviously there's a shrinkage problem at these stores, meaning it's shrinkage being theft, right? So there's a theft problem. That's why they had a lockup, and the fact that they're charging, $52 for 10 blades or whatever it is for me to, there's a sign that there was room for somebody to come in and disrupt. But in order to do that, it took a huge monetary investment. They had to spend probably $1 million+ into creating inventory and all this kind of stuff to even begin to put a dent into disrupting. Whereas if you want to disrupt the real estate industry, right, just go do it. Handwrite a couple bank foreclosure open house signs, stick them in a couple strategic corners, and now you own the market. It's amazing. Don't ever forget what we have our hands on. We got our hands on a rocket ship. By the way, this is totally aside from anything else. You guys know I teach that slide, A Trip to the Moon, when we're analyzing our progress, and we want to do it more often instead of waiting too long where we're too far off course. Have you guys seen, and I went and saw it just so I could see it in the big theater, Apollo 11?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, it's out right now. I don't know how long it's been out, but it's kind of a documentary because all it does is it colorized some old footage of the actual footage of back. Apollo 11 was the first space flight with it's Neil Armstrong and Buzz Aldrin and the other guy, Jim Collins, I believe, landing on the moon, right? But remember how I talk about how it talks about what they did and how and they do a really good job of teaching, even, neophytes about how they actually did this and all the science that went behind it. And it's very well done. So you get a chance to see it, go see it. So, all right. So before we get off corn planting, kudos to you that are doing it. If you aren't doing it, I don't know what else to do to motivate you to do it if you need new business, right? Go find traffic, generating accounts, whatever those look like. Okay. And go make them happen. And then the more you do it, the better you get, right? Your conversion rate will go up. I guarantee it if you continue to do them with consistency, right? Doing something once a month is not consistent enough for you to have a level of confidence so when people walk in the door, you can own that interaction, right? But if it's something I did yesterday several times, right, like Gene and Eileen did, and they're going to go back and do it again today, guess what? They're even better today than they were yesterday. All right, I'm just telling. Plus, not only are they better, I see Jean shaking her head because it's even more exciting because why?
We're fired up.
Because you had success yesterday, right?
Yeah.
Now, it's like, hey, look, this stinking stuff works, right? So look out. All right, here I go. All right. And so now it's even more motivating to go out and do it because you've had some success behind you. You've got some confidence about you, right? In your mind, whether you know it or not, you're mentally clicking off the 4 criteria when you're talking to somebody, right? You're saying, okay, yep, boom, 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 bam, right? There we are. Okay. Number 4, I don't know if you should have little confetti poppers. All right, when they answer the final question, hey, are we in agreement that if I'm willing to work with you, boom, boom, yes, boom, shoot off a confetti popper. What's that for? Oh, you just qualified for all 4, right? Here you are. You win, right? You win because you get to work with me because I wasn't going to work with you unless you met all 4, all right? And now you just told me you qualify for all 4, so now you've earned the right to work with me, right? Yeah.
Bob, I just was going to say, like, Eileen and I work together on these open houses. So if it ever got busy, we really can spread ourselves thin.
Perfect.
You know,
Yeah. It's a great way to tag team, right?
Tag team, and we able to, you know, get all the signs up and the balloons and all that stuff.
Yeah.
So it works out pretty well. Just a thought, not apprehensive. Just
Perfect.
find someone and go do it together, just to get going.
Exactly.
Janice and I are doing the same thing.
That is fantastic. Let me find. Oh, there you are. Where are you?
Me too. I do it with Anna. We both do the open houses.
Yeah.
That is fantastic. And, you know, and there's so many reasons to do it as a team, just because of safety, right?
Yeah.
By the way, real quick, if you haven't been to the Home Snap class, you know, the Home Snap has the safety feature on there. I don't know if if you haven't, if that Home Snap app, you can set a timer. Like if you're going to go do showings, right? You can set a timer. Like I'm going to be at this house. I set the timer, and you have a trusted person that's not there, right? That's going to, an alert will go off if you don't stop that alarm before 15 minutes or 20 minutes, however long you've set. If you don't go in and do it, it will send them a text to say, hey, you know, Jean hasn't cleared her timer, and here's the location. She was at this address, boom, boom, boom. And she can call you, or that other person can call you. Hey, Jean, if they get no answer, then they should send the cops, right?
Yes.
To do it. So utilize that safety feature. We want to be safe at what we're doing as well. So cool. Any other questions? Corn planting? Once, twice? So go do it. I'm just telling you, I can't encourage you enough, all right, if you're looking for business. Orange groves. Let's start digging in. So this is Michael Mayer's book, right? Because ideally, as I said at the very beginning, this is where we'd love to be. We would love to have this be our main source of business, right? Where it's just businesses coming to us. We're not having to go to it. I'm going to move real quick just so I can see the guy. Let me see. He doesn't have a key to the office. He can knock on the door. Hey, I'm over in Orlando. Is it raining over where you guys are?
It did a little while ago.
Yeah, it's raining pretty good here. Yeah, we must maybe getting what you guys had earlier. So, all right. So orange groves. Okay, remember this is simple. I got this. All right. Now let me ask some questions. Here's where. Now, if you remember, the whole idea of orange groves is not to go out and bug everybody we know and tell them they need to use us for business, right? The whole idea is to go give them massive value first, right? Michael Mayer calls it the generosity generation, where you go pour value into them on the front side, and whether they know it or not, and we can think about this in examples in your own life, where once somebody pours value into you or gives you value, whether you know it or not, you're psychologically indebted to them. You don't know, you know what I mean? You just, there's an attraction about it, right? That you're just like, hey, you know what? I owe them one, right? If Sandra covers for me and shows a property, you know, that I was stuck at my kid's doctor's appointment and I couldn't get out, and Sandra steps up and shows a property for me, psychologically, I'm there. I owe Sandra one. So when Sandra ever calls me, guess what? All right. Whether I say it or not, I know that I owe her. Right. Same thing with people. Right. That's what all we're going to do. And we're not doing it because that we can have all this balance sheet where, hey, you know, I've given you 4, you owe me, you know what I mean? We're not going to keep it all a record of everything. It's just a natural occurrence, right? Where things just go that direction because it's the law of nature, right? It's just the way people are. So, and that's why we hang out with the vendors we hang out with, right? The lenders that we recommend or allow to come speak with you guys, or the title companies, or the home inspectors. We're looking for people who will give value to you, right, as an agent, and therefore you would then eventually reciprocate that. All right. So in looking at the whole picture of Michael Mayer's book, right, which is the 7 levels of communication, and the whole idea, there's way too much in that book to try and eat it all, right? I mean, it's like if I had all 7 of the coaching sessions that Rick went through, right, with his coach, and all the things that he was tasked to do, if we actually wrote those down throughout the book, from making sure you're reaching out to your past clients, to having one-on-one sessions, to having a networking stack, to having housewarming parties, to writing power notes, to all the stuff that's listed in that book, right? In order to do all that, you'd feel overwhelmed, right? If I looked at that list. But I'm just telling you, you don't need to do all of it. You just need to find a few that work for you, right? And learn how to begin to implement those, right? So for instance, having a one-on-one. Remember, the whole purpose of a one-on-one is not to get business, right? But a one-on-one is to find a need that the other person has that you can help with. All right, did you catch that in the book?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. The whole idea is, hey, my whole purpose here is to find a need. So in order to do that, guess what? And this would be hugely difficult for me. I'd have to listen to this. Ready? I'd have to listen. What the heck is that, right? You know, that means I'd have to give up some of my airtime. And I'm not so sure I like that, right? And so with that in mind, the better we can get at listening, right? The more, the greater our chance of actually hearing something that they need. Are you with me?
Yes.
So sometimes that takes, again, that would be something I would have to, if I was doing one-on-ones, I'd have to really, like, literally almost walk in with a muzzle, right? Because I'm just a natural talker, right? And so I would have to really work on doing that. So if you've tried to do any of this, anybody, what's your biggest roadblock, do you think, to implementing some of the techniques or strategies in Michael's book? And I will sit back and listen now.
Well, for me, consistency. I think that's my biggest problem, because I do have that about still connecting to my past clients. Before, during, after the transaction, I try to text 5 different people, call or email every day. But, you know, sometimes even that gets a little hard. So for me, it's consistency. I'm just going to throw it there.
Perfect. And that's, and I appreciate you saying that, Sandra. Let me ask you this. If you began to time block, right, and said, hey, you know what, I'm just going to, because you can text anybody. I mean, there are certain times where you don't want to call people, right?
Right.
But you can text people. I wouldn't say any time of the day, but you could text somebody at 8:30, whereas you may not call them and get them at 8:30 in the morning. But you could text somebody, hey, just thinking about you, boom, 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 checking in to make sure, because you don't even have to open a dialogue. The fact that you did that is enough, right?
Okay.
And if you sit there and say, hey, look, it's going to take me all of 8 minutes to send out 5 texts, right? And I'm going to do that 3 mornings a week. Don't even do it 5, right? I'm just going to Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. I'm going to do that. I'm going to send out 8 different texts to people that I've been thinking about, just so that they, you know, can sense that I'm alive, and I recognize the fact they're alive. And you're done. And literally, I bet you could do, in 8 minutes, you could do 8 texts, or 8 minutes, you could do 5 texts and be done, and get 15 in a week, right? It's just small bites like that, you know. But it takes it takes writing it down to do it, right? And then checking it off. And remember, we encourage you to write things down, to have a to-do list, because 2 parts. A, as much as I like to claim that I have a steel trap of a memory, all right, my boys and my Jeanette would beg to differ, right? Number 1. Number 2, that's why if you looked at the pictures on my phone, right, you're going to see exciting things like mayonnaise and oatmeal and things that I have to get specific things at the store, and I never can remember the exact brand or what I'm supposed to get, or so I just have a lot of pictures of what I need to get, right? It's so, so I realize I don't have a steel trap. The reason we write them down, though, is so not only to help us, right, but by writing it down, but there's something I don't know if you guys, I get excited when I cross something off my list, right? There's like a victory being had there. right? And with something I really didn't want to do, it's like I almost rub it so hard it tears through the paper, right? Because I'm like, I can't come it. I'm so done with that, right? But it's almost like a victory dance I can do by crossing it off. So I highly encourage it. That's awesome, Sandra. But I think that's critical, right?
Yeah,
anybody else?
It's true. That's
perfect. Anybody else? What's a roadblock? You remember how many people Michael says we have to have in our database?
150.
Yep. Thank you. Great answer. That's it. 150, right? And matter of fact, if you remember the book, the biggest challenge is to pare down your database, not add to it. You remember how he goes through and he grades his database? He goes from A's to B's to C's. You know what I mean? He labels. A's are his ambassadors, right? Those are people that are going to literally grab people by the throat, right? And say, hey, look, you'd be an idiot not to use ERM for real estate, right? Okay. Right? Those are the kind of people you want, right? That's who you want on your side. And so with that in mind, when you realize you only need 150 and it's a matter of paring it down as opposed to adding to it, that's kind of a freeing feeling, right? Because if you can take care of 150, and now what does that mean? That means if I'm gonna, did you understand that if you just had to interact with 150 once a quarter, right, in some way, right? Now when I say once a quarter, it means like, hey, you know what? One of those quarterly contacts is to call them on their birthday, right? Okay, period. That's it. Call them on their birthday. So one of those is done. I need 4, right? Because I'm gonna do it quarterly, right? So one's to call them on their birthday. Another one might be to reach out on the anniversary of their closing date, and it might be, hey, you know what? I was just thinking about you, and something I like to remind people that you know it's been a year since you've or maybe it's a month before, you're coming up on a year, and sometimes insurance rates change. I don't know if you know that, but it's not bad to shop your insurance. And now might be not be a bad time to do that. You've already paid for a year. Sometimes, people, they do these introductory rates and they raise them, and now somebody else is willing to offer, or more people have entered into the market. So it may not be a bad idea to check out your insurance. So there's a second opportunity to connect, right? A third might be sometime that you're going to have a one-on-one with this person sometime throughout the year, right? Hey, we haven't chatted in a while. Let's go grab coffee. Let's get lunch. Let's do something. I'm a younger family. I've got kids. They've got kids. Let's go meet at the park and let the kids play, right? Whatever. Okay. So there's a third, right? Is a one-on-one. By the way, right? That means I'm doing one-on-one with each one person on my list once a year. That means if you break it down, that's roughly 12 and a quarter, 12 and a half. Yeah, 12 and a half, right? 12 and a half one-on-ones a month, right? Okay. Yeah.
Hi, it's Megan.
Hey, Megan.
A couple of the other things that I do, Facebook is a great thing for that, because when I get married or have an anniversary or anything like that, or a baby, it gives me an excuse to call them.
100%.
And also at the end of the year, I send out a copy of their closing statement to everybody who closed, and use that as an excuse to say, I don't know if you need this for your taxes, and don't forget to register for Homestead. And then I give them the county of the Homestead link. So at the end of the year, it gives me the opportunity to get in front of them again. And then I always send out holiday cards to all of my customers, just as an extra opportunity to get in front of them. Because I feel like when I hit them back to back towards the end of the year with their closing statement and a holiday card. It jumps the new year. So when I start reaching out to them at the new year, it's more second nature for them to want to engage with me and recommend me.
100%. That is awesome feedback right there, and advice. That is fantastic. And Megan, it sounds to me that you have a system, right?
I try to when I'm consistent.
Yeah. Therefore, but now when you put it out there, that's, by the way, critical to that is having an accountability partner, right? Somebody that says, hey, look, you got to tell them what you're going to do. Hey, you know what? Every year I'm going to make sure I do this. And then that leads me into my natural progression, into my quarterly reach out sessions that I've got mapped out. Here's the thing. You can map all this out, but you don't want to approach them like it's mapped out. Are you with me?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So there's nothing wrong with mapping it out, because you have to have it mapped out, because that way you've done it and you've got a plan, you've got a goal, and you're going to do it, right? But when you call them, you don't want to be rifling through 150 in a day saying, dadgum, I got to get these done, right? Because then you're not going to be listening. Agreed?
Great.
Agreed. One of the suggestions that was given to me by one of my lenders is do it alphabetically.
Perfect.
So if you've got 26 letters and you do 2 a week, then that naturally puts you at quarterly to talk to everybody. So every week, some weeks you'll have more, some weeks you'll have less. But if you do 2 letters in the alphabet a week, then that gives you the opportunity to have a system and to know when you're going to reach out to them.
That's fantastic. You guys, 13 weeks in a quarter, right? Okay. 2 letters, A's and B's, I'm going to send out. Plus, that keeps you consistent, where the first week of the quarter, I'm sending out A's and B's, so I'm not doubling up on them. They're not getting 2 contacts from me within 3 weeks, right? It's always about a quarter apart, but it's not always the first part of the quarter for the L's and M's, right? It's about halfway through the quarter for the L's and M's. They just don't realize it, but that's awesome advice, Megan. And I like that a lot, because that's a natural block, right? By the way, just a quick heads up, our next month's grow sessions, these grow sessions we've been doing this month for the month of March have been all home snap trainings. Come April's grow sessions as we go around are going to be focused on, hey, guess what? It's April, right? Do you understand we're in Q2 already, right? So it's time to get out our trip to the moon slide and realize we are supposed to be 1/4 of the way through our trip, either to the moon or across the river or whatever we're using as our analogy. And how are we matching up based upon our stated goals on January 1, and where are we on April 1, right? So just be aware of that. We're going to be talking about, hey, look, these quarters sneak up on us faster than we think, right? Megan, here's a good piece of advice. I love that, by the way, the A's and B's on the first week of the quarter, and C's and D's on the second week of the quarter, and so on and so forth. That's excellent. Here's the beauty of that. When you break things up like that into smaller bite-sized pieces, right? It is so much easier to catch up if you pay attention and you missed a week, right? So if you were going to go on spring break was last week, right, or whatever you guys had, right, and you took the week off, either you could plan ahead and send out a few, like if I was supposed to be doing S&Ts, right? Let me see if I can find, somebody's giving us a lot of background noise. Let me see if I can find it. Hang on. If we're doing S&Ts, right, on a certain day, but I knew that was going to be next week. I was supposed to do S&Ts, but I was going to be on vacation, right? Then maybe I do S this week and then catch up with T the following week when I get back. But it enables you to do that. You know what I'm saying? Whereas if we have a system like that in place, we can map this kind of stuff out, right? I mean, it's just amazing what a calendar does. You guys, I think we're underutilizing calendars, right? And you know me, I believe that God gave us natural breaks, right? And you understand there's a 24-hour revolution cycle called the day, right? That's how long it takes for the earth to rotate, okay, to spin, all right? It goes around, okay, in 24 hours, right? It takes essentially 4 weeks, sets of 7 days for the moon to orbit the earth, right? So there's another natural cycle. We've kind of built our months around that, right? It takes a full year for us to eclipse in the sun, right? To come across and orbit the sun. Takes the earth, a full year. But we get quarterly breaks in the equinoxes that are centered around winter, spring, summer, and fall. And it's just a beauty to a natural progression of how we can structure our lives, right? That it goes all the way back to, if I want to win the big revolution, which is win the year, then I need to win the winter, right? And if I want to win the winter, I got to win the first month of the winter. And if I want to win the first month of the winter, I better win the first week of the first month of the winter, right? And if I want to win the first week of the first month of the winter, then I need to win the first 24-hour revolution. And it comes right back to win the day, right? But if I win enough days, I win enough weeks, I win enough weeks, I win enough months, I win enough months, I win enough quarters, I win enough quarters, I win enough years, right? And that's the way to do it, and to break it into bite-sized pieces, so that if I catch myself and I missed, then I can catch up pretty quickly, right? But if I get frustrated, and I'm going to do this, all right, I love it. We're coming up on the second quarter. I'm going to do the A, B, C, D, E, F. That's a great idea, right? And you catch yourself 3 weeks in that you haven't done any of it. Pretty soon, if you wait till 8 weeks in, you're like, screw it. I'll wait till next quarter, right? But if you catch ourselves early enough, we can do that. So I appreciate that. That is a sound. I hadn't heard that breakdown of the 20. I love numbers, right? And then 26 is very evenly divisible by 13, which is kind of unique, right? There aren't many things divisible by 13. 26 happens to be of it, and happens to be 26 letters in our alphabet. So I love that. That's perfect. Great thoughts. Anybody else have something for me?
Bob, I just wanted to tell you, one of the things I did this year for my clients was I went to, on Thanksgiving, Home Depot has poinsettia plants for 99 cents. So I went and bought a bunch of poinsettia plants, and then I just stopped by and dropped them off with all my clients.
It's perfect. That's fantastic. You know what? And who is it? What's the guy? It's one of the training guys. I can't remember. He calls them Popeyes. By the house. Anybody know who that is? Yeah, it's Buffini. Thank you. Yeah, and that's exactly what you did, Janice. That is perfect, right? There's always reasons. Matter of fact, Michael, Michael Mayer, because Michael, by the way, and he's self-admitted when he wrote the book, all it is a compilation of Buffini and Craig Proctor and all these guys that he had been, listening to. He just kind of combined it all into, hey, look, if I just did a little bit of that, a little bit of this, add a little Buffini, throw in a little, so-and-so, and next thing you know, poof, out pops a book, right? But Janice, that's excellent, right? And it's just another reason to stay in touch that isn't salesman-y, that's not, commission breathed, right? It's just, hey, just thinking about you and wanted to swing by and do that. Now, if you're going to do that in a 3-week period, right, then you might have to do it in 8 letters at a pop. Right? A through J or whatever it is, right? And I do that in the first week. But whatever you do, but break it down so it's doable, right? We don't want to sit there because the last thing you want to do is have to do all of these and end up being a jerk when you drop them off because you're tired, you're frustrated, you got shopping to do, you got other things on your mind. It defeats the whole purpose, right?
And you have to limit yourself, because some people said, oh, come on in and have a cup of tea, or come in and talk, so you don't really know how long you're going to be there. If they're not home, it's 5 minutes.
Right.
If they are, it could be an hour.
Right. But that's what you want, right? And it's funny because then we get frustrated. We're like looking at our watch and like, hello, I'm defeating the whole That's why the other thing, do you remember Michael's book he teaches called The Hour of Power? Right?
Mm-hmm.
Now, some people read that as a cold calling session, right? I'm going to do my hour of power calls, all right, every day, and they bang the desk, and here I go. I had to make sure that our agents understood that if they were going to implement that, I agreed with it, by the way. It doesn't need cold calling. It's all calling your sphere, right? It could be Sandra's 8 minutes of power because she's going to text 5 people in 8 minutes, right, or whatever it is, right? But that it's an hour, not a number of people goal. And when you look at it that way, if the first call ends up taking an hour, you've done your job.
Oh.
You see, and obviously somebody needed to talk, and that's okay, right? Whereas if I sit there and say, okay, I'm going to call for an hour and I want to get these 12 phone calls, so I've got to average 5 minutes per call, right? And someone wants to talk more and they're really kind of maybe sharing some things with me and I could be of help to them. Like, I got a time frame here, right? Okay, right? And that's defeating the whole purpose. Whereas if I say I'm going to make an hour of calls, and I don't care if it's 1 call, 12 calls, 2 calls, 8 calls, right? I'm going to make an hour, and then when I'm done, I can check it off my list. I said I did an hour. All right, and there's a big difference there. Okay, and to do that. So that's a great point, Janice, to point out that it doesn't have to be so many people. It can be just a certain time frame. So great stuff. Sandra?
I just want to say something about that so you guys don't do what I did, my mistake. So I'm sharing. I kind of did the same idea. I love red wine, so I got a case in Costco of 12 bottles, and everybody that did a deal with me, I put, went to the dollar store, got the 1 bottle bag and Christmas cards and all that stuff, and I wrote everybody, thank you so much for your business. I wish you a very good year in your new house. So far and so on. And whoever was in my pipeline, I also told them, hey, don't worry, you'll get there, things like that. But I didn't knock at the door and I didn't go into anybody's house. I just dropped it in their door. Mm-hmm. Big mistake, because I did it for like 6 people. No one ever contacted me or anything like that. I'm sure they got it, but I haven't gotten anything out of that. You know what I'm saying? So I don't care. Knock at the door. If they want to talk to you for an hour, it's better than what I did. So that's all I'm saying.
That's great. And that reminds us of the 7 levels of communication, right? Because you remember the whole idea behind 7 levels of communication. The higher you move up, you want to be in the influential zone, right? And the influential zone is emails, power notes, power notes, like meeting somebody at an event, right? Mm-hmm. And then a one-on-one, right, is the very tippy top, right? So that face-to-face, eyeball-to-eyeball contact is what we're looking for. And so just dropping it off. Plus, as many people were stealing stuff, and the homeless person was just following you around town saying, hey, I got 6 free bottles of wine. This is awesome. What a country.
Yeah, exactly. I don't even know if they got it.
That's right. See? Got to put trackers. Put one of those tile trackers on it to make sure it actually went inside the house. To get that. That's funny.
That's what I thought. Maybe this was a good time to call people and find out if they received your gift.
Yeah, that's a good point. Hey, just following up. I left it on. I want to make sure you get. I know what's been going on. By the way, you saw the joke when all those people were over Christmas, right? When everybody was getting their packages stolen off their porch. People said to if they are looking to get rid of stuff, instead of hiring a junk company to come pick it up, just put all your junk in a big box, wrap it up, and put an Amazon sticker at it, and let someone come steal it from you, and they remove it for you for free. So it's a good way to go. But Anna, that's a great piece of advice that you could follow up. That would be a chance to follow up and say, hey, just want to make sure you got it, and how are things going, and so on and so forth. So there are so many ways. If we have creative minds, what Megan had brought up was if you monitor Facebook to kind of stalk them, if you will, right? So when the events are happening in their life, right? Then that's a big deal. The thing that if you've been with us a while, you've already received a couple phone calls from me on your birthday. But when I started that, I had no idea how big a deal that was. I'm just telling you, right? You think, and I got agents that were lifelong Century 21 agents for 28 years, have sent me notes saying, I can't believe you took the time to call me on my birthday. And in 28 years at my other office, I never had a broker, da 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 da. And it's people say, how do you find the time? How do I find the time? How do I not find the time to do that? Right? I mean, the value I get, it's an opportunity to reach out to our agents, right? And at least, continue to remind them that we're always here to help, right? And anything that's our job. But in addition to that, and people say, well, how do I said, look, my job is to grow my company. If my sole job is to call 20 people a day, right, times 365 on average, that means my company's doing just fine, right? I'll take that all day long. I want more birthday calls. That means more birthday calls means I have more agents, which means there's more revenue, which means there's more bottom line, right? And so I'm okay with making the birthday calls. But it's little things like that when you do above and beyond. That's why there's such power in the handwritten note, right? That's why you will get people calling you back saying, how long has it been since I've received a handwritten note from somebody, right? Let's cover that for a second, by the way, since we have a little bit of time on this. I don't know if we've talked about it this session, but the idea behind the power note. And you know what? Michael has a recipe for the power note, right, in his book. You don't have to follow that recipe exactly. I'll tell you some keys that I believe, based upon seeing what our agents have done in their experience, is what I'm going to call unbranded branded. All right? I don't know if we've had this discussion before, but hang on a second. I'm going to move my earpiece for a second. All right. Michael teaches not to send a branded card, right? Because a branded card says sales, right? As soon as you send a card that has Future Home Realty on it or your team logo with your card in it, all they see is she's not really touching base with me. She's wanting business, right? However, right, there is a way to send, and Michael supports this as well, and we've talked about it. What he calls, and what we've kind of come up with, is called unbranded branded. I'll give you some examples. Cindy Hayden, you know Cindy? Cindy, she's going to be the next president-elect of Pro. She is the president-elect of Pro, really involved with the Pinellas Realtor organization, works the beaches, and does very, very well. Probably $10 to $12 million producer on a consistent basis, right? She has done some really cool things. But if you followed her on Facebook, you would see, because she works the beaches, she takes a lot of sunset pictures and posts those, right? Okay, on the Gulf of Mexico, the sunsets over the Gulf of Mexico, okay, all these things. She's kind of, matter of fact, I think her website is sandbarstosunsets.com, right? And so what she did is she made notes. She got note cards made out of some like 4 or 5 really cool sunset photos, right? And those were her power note cards. So it wasn't saying Cindy Hayden Realtor, right? But backhanded it was, right? It reminded people when they received a card from her. By the way, when you send a nice sunset picture to somebody that's in a Chicago blizzard in January, all right, that note card gets posted on their refrigerator. It doesn't get thrown away, right? That's the kind of thing you're looking for. That if you can, because that was a way for her to not come out and say Cindy Hayden Realtor, but they saw the sunset picture and thought Cindy Hayden, right? That's what we call unbranded branded. I have another agent that was really into bicycling, right? And her sphere knew that she was into bicycling, right? It was a long rides on Saturdays and so on and so forth, right? So she found some really cool cards at like the dollar store that had like an embossed, very tastefully done bicycle on them. So those were her cards. It was unbranded branded. It didn't say Pat Silsky, realtor. All right. It said Pat Silsky, bike enthusiast, in a backhanded, understated way. Are you with me? Mm-hmm. So if you can think of something that says you, all right, Sandra, maybe it's because of your love of wine. It's some, seriously, or, seriously, sometimes people would know that, oh yeah, Sandra, she told me she's really a wine connoisseur. It could be anything. You're a dog lover.
I never thought about that.
Yeah. But it's, instead of sending out a card that says Future Home Realty, you kind of backhanded send out. So if you could find something, and people were saying in Vistaprint, even if you just go take a picture yourself, right, of something, right, if it's your dog or whatever, and then make cards out of that, just something to consider as a good source for a unbranded branded card. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, cool, awesome.
For that too, when I first started doing my cards, I had gone to Michael's. And they have 80 like slightly decorated cards with no real imprinting on them.
Yeah.
For like not even $20.
Perfect.
And that's where I started, because that got me through a year of sending out cards to people, and they're just different colors, and it saved me money, but it also gave me the option to efficiently get them out of the house. So instead of looking for cards specific, I was just able just to like write them and send them.
That's awesome. That's awesome. And let's take Megan's idea and expand upon that with Facebook, right? So instead of just replying on Facebook, hey, congratulations on your daughter's kindergarten graduation, which you saw because you were stalking them on Facebook. Following them. Sorry, my bad. Following them on Facebook, right? How about you take the information and you be different than the rest of the people that just liked it, thumbs upped it, all right, ha-ha'd it, whatever they did, right, on Facebook, and actually took the time to write a note specific to that. And by the way, as a reminder, you didn't say, hey, Judy, I saw your post about your daughter's graduation from kindergarten. How cute was that? Period. By the way, if you or anybody looking to buy or sell real estate, I'd really appreciate it. Okay, we do not. Everybody understand that? Okay. All right. That is not the goal. We leave it at she looked adorable in her little cap and gown. Period. All right. Thinking of you, Megan. P.S. We should grab coffee sometime. Call me or I'll call you. Reminder, here's my phone number. Bam. Got it? It's as simple as that. All right? It doesn't take much to find something to celebrate with them. Okay? Cool? All right? My next point came up because I got excited and pounded the desk, and it thought I was moving to my next point. All right. So if you were consulting yourself, what advice would you give? Anybody? Sandra, would you tell yourself to write stuff down and time block?
Time block. I do have a list, but I'm pretty bad about time blocking. It's
okay.
Awful.
Perfect. Well, it's all part of it, but we can't fix what we don't recognize, right? First step, any AA meeting would tell you that the first step we have to do is admit we have a problem. Right? Okay. So, hey, my name's Sandra, and I'm a terrible time blocker. All right. Hi, Sandra. We all welcome you, and they say that's okay, and we'll give you a chip as soon as you time block for a week. We'll give you a chip, a 1 week chip. All right, to say you made it. All right. Anybody else wanted to share? Hey, because you know what I found is I'm really good at giving advice to others, but I'm not really good at taking it.
Mm. Yeah, Bob, for me, I hate to admit it, but I have, where's my calendar here? It's a wall calendar. Here's my wall calendar, and I keep my appointments on this wall calendar.
Yeah.
I have to step into the new millennium and start using an electronic, calendar on my.
Not necessarily.
Yeah, and I would agree.
Because when I'm away from that wall calendar, I don't know what's going on when I'm talking to people and I want to make an appointment. So I need to start using the Google Calendar and
fair enough, and you can do that. I for me, and Jim Shands, continues to call me abuelo, which means if he spoke Spanish would be grandpa, because he can't believe that I don't, have all my calendar on my computer coordinated with my phone that automatically updates everything back and forth, and I just work from a day timer. Now mine is one I carry with me, so I always have it with me, except it's in the room right now, I can go grab it. But it's, it's my, and it breaks it down hour by hour, right? Every day of the week is broken down hour by hour. Again, which is what your phone does. I get it as well. It's just my phone rings and dings and bings sent me so many times that I tend to almost tune it out. Yeah. And so for me, it wasn't as effective. But whatever works. But I agree. You've got to, something like what you're talking about. If it's only at home, you got to have it with you, right? So you know where you're supposed to be next and what you're doing.
Yeah.
That's great. I can't agree with you more that you've got to have, you got to be in control of your day, or your day will control you.
Yeah.
Period. Anybody else? Any advice for yourself? Like that country music song, what is it? The letter to my 16-year-old self, right? If I could go back and write a letter to my 16-year-old me, all right? And hey, don't worry about it. You know what? The breakup's not going to be so bad. You'll get over it. And everything else, right? The letters to ourselves. But don't be afraid to do that, right? That's part of having an accountability partner, but also being accountable to yourself. For me, it's stepping on the scale every morning, right? That's part of my accountability session, is step on the scale every morning and make sure, hey, look, do I, because I got to catch myself. If I'm, it's easier for me to rein myself back in from 2 pounds overweight than being 18 pounds overweight, right? So I just try and catch myself when I'm 2 so I can make the necessary adjustments. All right. We talked about this already. What's our strategic plan? I would make that a goal. I'm going to come up with 3 goals. In the first quarter of this year, I had 3 goals for future home agents. Number 1 was to become contract aficionados, right? We want to be known as the best. We know the contract like the back of our hand. That's why we teach contract classes every month at every location. In every region, Tampa, Orlando, Jacksonville. I went through and made sure all our contract classes are up to date online through FHR University. They're there, along with every writer now has a class that's there. So if you ever have a question, by the way, on a writer, like how to use a specific writer, I don't know if you saw that, but I've got every writer highlighted, marked up, and an individual class for every writer that's out there. And so the contract was number 1. Number 2 was to get proficient at HomeSnap, which we consider a sticky app, right? Something to give people at a traffic generating event, right? That ties them to you. If you haven't been to those, go find yourself a HomeSnap class. We've done them all over. Now I got one later today here in the Dr. Phillips office for our agents out here. I'm just a big proponent of that. And the third was to make sure you incorporate it. If you're planning on making any money, you need to incorporate. So those are our 3 goals, right? I haven't come up with a full set of 3 goals for next quarter, but one of them is to have a strategic plan to go deeper with my network, right? That will be one of them. To say, okay, I want to really plan out, what am I going to do? Like Megan does, right? Megan has a, A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H plan, all right, to make sure she's touching base with her network. I think that's a fantastic idea. And now, Megan, just so you know, I don't know if you know me. Megan, what's your last name? Which Megan is this?
Weidenfeller.
Oh, hey, Megan. I don't know if you know this about me, but when I gave you credit for your idea with the for your lender's credit, right? That you like breaking up the 26 letters of the alphabet into 13 segments, right? But now that I've said it 3 times, it's my idea. Just so you know. All right. Hey, Megan says, and then the second time was I heard it said, and now from here on out, it's as I've always said. All right. So now it's mine, just so you know. All right.
It's one of Brian's girls, so I think it would be okay.
Oh, is Brian Heckman?
Yeah.
Oh, cool. Awesome. Good deal. That's perfect. But I think that's just a great idea, right? To have a strategic plan to reach out to them on a quarterly basis. That's awesome, right? So start thinking these ways, right? We're business owners, right? Everybody raise your right hand. Okay. I'm going to make sure I see those that have their cameras on. Those that haven't brushed their teeth yet this morning don't have their cameras on, and that's okay. All right. All right. I am
Right.
CEO
CEO
of Me Inc.
Me Inc.
All right. Everybody understands that, right? You are a business owner, so you've got to treat your business with the respect it deserves. Fair enough?
Yes.
Okay. Realize that. You've got in your hands a rocket ready to go if you're willing to actually dig in and do what you need to do. Fair enough? Okay. All right. What does that look like? We'll talk about that. More orange groves. Okay. You need to have a game plan for accountability. So let's spend 5 minutes real quick. I want to give you a game plan for your accountability sessions with your partner. Okay. Number 1, game plan, have one. Okay. Okay. That's a starting point, is have an accountability partner, right? Okay. But when you get together, you want to identify clear, measurable performance goals. Don't be vague, right? Megan's going to tell our accountability partner, between now and the time we meet 2 weeks from now, I'm going to send out A's and B's and C's and D's. That's a very clear, measurable goal, right? Instead of, in the past, Megan, not saying that you did this, but you may have said when you got together with your accountability partner, even if you did do that, said, hey, I'm going to reach out to my sphere. Okay. What the heck does that mean? Right? Even better would be, hey, in between now and 2 weeks, I'm going to send out this specific marketing piece or whatever it is, all right? Or I'm going to send power notes to my A's and B's and C's and D's, right? Whatever it looks like, okay? But it's going to be very specific so I can come back and measure against that. Remember, if you've taken any business courses, they talk about goals need to be SMART goals. They need to be specific, measurable, attainable, realistic, and have a time component to them, right? If I say I want to lose weight, what the heck does that mean? By when? Sometime before I die, okay? Right? That's not a time, there's no time component to that, right? I want to lose 10 pounds in the next 3 months, right? Right now I weigh X and I want to weigh X minus 10 3 months from now. A true accountability partner is going to whip a scale out of their purse and say, step on up. Here we go. All right. Okay. What do you mean? All right. Let's see where we are and let's get there and let's measure that. Okay. But you've got to have very specific measurable goals, right? Things like, I want to be a better husband means nothing. How vague is that? Right? You want it clear, measurable. Okay. Agree upon successful measurement techniques to assess the progress, right? By the way, I think I created this slide when I was taking my organizational behavior course in my MBA, right? These were very, it's all rushing back to me as I'm looking at this slide now again, right? That successful measurement techniques. So how are we going to measure that? All right. So with Megan, all right, if she said, hey, look, I was her accountability partner, she says, I'm going to send out a power note to my A's and B's and C's and D's, all right? Then what I'm going to say, okay, that's great, but you telling me that, how are we going to prove that? How are you going to come back with proof, right? How about this, Megan? I want you to take, when you have those all addressed before you mail them, All right. Even if you mail them at specific intervals, like if it's going to mail them at 14 different intervals over the next 2 weeks, I want you to take 14 pictures of the group of already stamped, enveloped, addressed, and where I can see all the A's, right? That's what a true accountability partner is going to do. So how are we going to measure this, right? We're going to agree upon it. You and I, as partners, as accountability partners, are going to agree, and we're going to shake on it, that this is how we're going to measure it, right? Because if not, what you've been doing in the past with your accountability is too vague. I guarantee it. I haven't been spying on you, but I know, right? If you've even been having them, all right, they haven't been specific enough. They need to be real specific. So we'll post these slides later on 100K so you have them, so you can go back and use this as a template for your accountability sessions. Fair enough? Okay. Provide feedback and coaching to adjust. So when I get back 2 weeks from now, right, and Megan says, Bob, I got through A's, B's, C's, and half a D's, right? I was supposed to get through all the way through D's. I got to be honest with you, I didn't get through all my D's. And I looked at it and said, hey, look, because I see D-A as the last name, but it stops there. You're telling me there's no DRs in your list? Show me your list. And she says, oh, here it is. I said, you didn't get all the way through your D's, right? Okay, fair enough. I'm not here to beat her up, but I'm here to say, okay, great. What can we, by the way, she's going to replicate that back, right? Remember, one of the best concepts that Jesus came up with in the Bible, well, he came up with a lot of great concepts. It's hard for me to put best on any of them, right? But how about when he dropped this on his disciples? As you forgive, so you will be forgiven. Ouch, right? That's a rough one to live by, right? It's real easy for me to say, oh, I'm not going to forgive anybody until I remember that Jesus said to me, hey, just like you're how forgiving you are of others is how forgiving I can be of you. Ooh, okay, maybe I'll change my forgiveness pattern here a little bit, right? So to remember that when you're giving feedback as well, because the feedback you give is now they're going to turn the table on you. It's now your time to show your pictures of what you were supposed to do, right? To make sure you're done, all right? So, but you're going to provide it can be positive feedback, but we don't want to just blow smoke up somebody's backside. Say, hey, you know what, Megan, you told me you were going to do this, and quite frankly, you didn't. So now, 2 weeks from now, I want the rest of these caught up and E's and F's and G's and H's. Fair enough? Is that fair for me to ask, right? And we agree upon it, we shake hands, and we have an agreement. Fair? Good? By the way, she's going to do the same thing for me, okay? And then we're going to use that feedback to I was cheating ahead a little bit to create a new plan of action for the next time period, right? So I look at my feedback and realize that, hey, Megan hadn't made it all the way through D's. So now a new plan of action is to finish D's, all right? And then still do her 4 letters for the next 2 weeks. All right? That make sense? Yes?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. So it's a pretty easy plan. Again, this is not rocket science. This has been taught at management school for years, right? But all it is how, this is what, by the way, they're teaching managers. If I was going to manage a group of people, right, and help them perform at their job better, then I'm going to I can't ask them to perform or change their performance if I haven't clearly communicated my expectations, all right? And there isn't a peer-to-peer buy-in on that, right? Okay, me mandating somebody will make, if I told Megan, hey, look, you know what? You have to do your A's, B's, C's, and D's. It's better if Megan and I agree that it's good for Megan to send out her A's, B's, C's, and D's. You see the difference, right? And that's how we're going to agree to do it. Fair enough? Cool? All right. Here's where our assignments from last session. You guys can see this. All right, have them all out there. We're just a time block, 1 morning each week. The reason we did just 1 morning because I wanted you to feel how good it felt to time block. And if you do it once, then you might, because of how good you feel, you might want to do it more, right? Okay, so we're gonna do that. 4 rituals. Remember our 4 rituals? We have the pre-leave ritual, the pre-sleep ritual, the morning ritual, and the Sunday night ritual. If you don't know what those are, make sure you dig into the book and get that. Stay true to your commitments. Find one example, the law of the harvest. I don't know if I assigned that or not, but it's on this slide, so just ignore that. But I like finding examples of the law of the harvest, like commit for I took a picture one time over I think it was a weight room at a local high school that I had seen that basically says commitment first, results later. Love that. That's an example of law of the harvest, right? And that's exactly what I'm talking about. Is you see things all around us that say things like, hey, look, you got to plant before you got to sow before you reap, right? There is no reaping without sowing. And if you look around, it's all over, right? There's examples in our own lives. We're supposed to read The Greatest Salesman in the World. If you guys haven't read that yet, I'm going to probably sometime throughout the year, I post my takes on the Greatest Salesman in the World. It's one of my favorite books. There are mantras that I live by. The scrolls, the 10 scrolls that are out there are amazing stuff. If you haven't read it, go start digging into it. Just have 3 contracts or a selfie of you, and then share your successes. So here are your suggestions. If you haven't read The Greatest Salesman or halfway through, finish it. Make the 4 rituals a way of life: physical fitness and eating right. Continue to do that. Meet with your accountability partner, and now you have a game plan, right? I just laid out a strategy for your accountability session, all right? I'm going to challenge you to have a one-on-one meeting with one of the people in your 150.
Okay.
Okay. All right. And then have a traffic generating event. Cool?
Okay.
All right. Now, here are our commitments. Remember that these are ongoing. These are what we're supposed to be doing on a consistent basis, right? That slide's been on every presentation we do. Fair enough? Cool. My goal is to end on time. I've got 3 minutes according to me. Any questions I can answer for you?
I have a question. I have a buyer putting in an offer. They came back with, so the buyer wanted to close with insured title and was going to pay for her own policy.
Yep.
They're saying it's a POA situation. Someone passed away. The owner passed away. The POA is in England, and the whole thing is being handled through a lawyer. So they are insisting that we close at the lawyer's office. Is that a problem?
No, I would, as long as the buyer's comfortable with it. Now, they could still hire ITA to do their side of it, and all they would do is just transfer all the paperwork over, or you would hire ITA to review all the documents just to make it's like another set of eyes on it, and do it. If they're refusing to allow the buyer to do the buy side or the mortgagee's title policy, right? Then you can have that discussion. There's, it would be a matter of, the answer is it's not a problem. All right. But okay. The buyer may want to have somebody review the title policy. I think I told you the other day, I think it was this group that, when I bought this home, we just bought a little less than a year ago in Windermere, and I used a local attorney. You know how many deals I've done? I've done thousands of transactions, right? And I hired a local attorney to review all the documents that I had written up the contract, right? But I had him review the title policy and everything else, and I paid him to look after my side. He didn't do the buyer's title policy, but he found things on the title policy that I should be aware of, and he marked them up, and he got these things changed. For me, it's every bit worth it, right, to do that, and I've done a lot. So having an extra set of eyes never hurts, but it's not the end of the world to have the attorney do it.
Okay, so yeah, so the listing agent said they will pay for the policy, but they want to close. So I'll just tell my buyer she's free to have. Yeah,
she's welcome to reach out to an attorney or somebody else. If it's not ITA, somebody else take a look at it. David Rankin, has a title company, and he's also a real estate attorney. I know.
It'll just be an extra charge for her.
Yeah, it'd be an extra charge, but I mean, for $350, it may be well worth it.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
The other thing is the listing agent is telling me she sent me a seller disclosure. Not the regular form with all the, individual lines, but basically everything crossed through diagonally. And I told her my broker won't accept that. And she said, basically in a very nice way, tough, this is what we're This is
All we're
what
providing. Yeah. All we're concerned about is the client we represent. Let me show you real quickly. And you guys need to log off already. I'm just going to show you. You guys can still see my screen, right?
Yes.
Okay. So if I go to, you guys know on Paperless Pipeline, we have a watermarked seller refused to complete seller's disclosure. Have you seen that?
Well, they are sending a seller's disclosure. It's just a different form, and it's just crossed out.
Right. We are, we always require the full FAR bar. I'll show you. Let me see if I can get in here. Paperless Pipeline. Just taking 2 seconds to get in here. And the reason we do, just so you know, just as, again, teaching moment that I take advantage of, is because the Florida Realtors Seller's Disclosure covers everything, right? So if I go to reference, by the way, you guys know any of the future home forms that are not in, or anything you're looking for, like a copy of the broker's license, or I need a referral agreement that's already signed by Bob McDougall. All that stuff's in here, right? Just so you know. Here, optioner. Look at this. So under contract forms optional, seller will not disclose single or multifamily thing. And if I click on that, I go down, it's the seller's disclosure, and across it says seller declines to fill out disclosure. We want the party, if like in instance, this case, the buyer can sign that other one if they feel comfortable signing that other one, right? But in particular, we're going to request this one be signed only by the buyer. We're not asking the seller. That's who we represent is the buyer, right? And we want them to recognize that normally, this is what we use. Normally, this is completed by the seller. This seller in particular is refusing to do so. And you, Mr. Buyer or Mrs. Buyer or Mr. and Mrs. Buyer, are electing to go through with it anyway.
Okay.
Fair enough. And that's what my compliance team is going to push back on you on and request.
Okay.
Cool.
Okay, I'll get that done. Thank you.
Cool. Awesome. All right, guys. Have a fantastic day. I got 11:32, so we were close. And if you need me, remember Mondays and Fridays, I have office hours as well, which I can answer questions like Ern just asked. And the cool thing is I'm usually sitting at a computer so I can pull stuff up and we can take a look at it, and we do it through Zoom just like this. And there, obviously reach out if you have questions. In the meantime, go implement. Congratulations to you that are implementing and seeing the fruits of your labor. So kudos to you, and keep it up. And if you need me for anything, reach out.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right. Thanks, guys. Have a great couple of weeks.
Thank you. You too.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.